the biggest question since the company announced Clean Nation at our Power Surge event July 21st is, what the heck's a REC? What is a renewable energy certificate, or called a REC?
Right. I think everyone here already knows now that a REC is a renewable energy certificate. If you think about it, whether it's solar or whether it's a wind farm or a geothermal plant or a hydroelectric plant, all of these forms of renewable energy, when they pump power into the grid, what are they putting into the grid? Well, yes, renewable energy, but ultimately, it's electrons, right? And guess what? Electrons are electrons. So how do you distinguish from a usage or from an economic basis, how do you distinguish renewable energy, excuse me, a little Coke there. How do you distinguish renewable energy from conventionally generated energy, all right? You can't do anything to the electrons. The electrons are the electrons. You know, I guess hypothetically you could go out and get, you know, like 1 trillion little stickers that you put on each electron and say,
Scrubbing
you know,
bubbles.
But I don't think that's a very economic way of doing it. So the government was trying to come up with a manner, and a lot of environmental actors in the United States were trying to come up with a manner as to how we distinguish renewably generated energy from other types. And this is what they came up with. Essentially, if you are a renewable generator, and it's not just wind farms, guys, it's also solar, large solar plants, it's geothermal plants, it's hydroelectric plants. If you are the producer of electricity that is generated in a renewable manner, basically not depending upon fossil fuels or nuclear fuel, you are entitled, at the time that you produce each megawatt, 1,000 kilowatt hours, each megawatt of power, you're entitled as a byproduct of that production to produce a REC. Well, what does that get you? It's a piece of paper, right? The government did two things here. First, they allowed renewable generators in an audited manner, in a tracked manner, to produce RECs. All right? There can only be as many RECs as there are megawatts of renewably generated power in the United States. All right? So there's a finite amount at any one time. But additionally, the government did something pretty smart. If you want to look at it this way, towards encouraging renewable generation, what they did is they said, okay, every federal agency, the Defense Department, the Department of Agriculture, all of these departments have to source a certain percentage of their power from renewable energy with certain markers over time. I don't know what the numbers are, but let's say it's 10% by 2015, 15% by 2017. And interestingly, the only way that you can really prove it is to get a REC, right? So now you've not only created a product, the REC, but you've created demand for RECs. And a lot of corporations thought, you know what, and they've all got different reasons for doing it. You know, some just want to look good. Some think that it's a responsible thing to do. Some want to encourage renewable generation. Some want to make you think, ooh, they're green, you know. But they have a variety of reasons for wanting to clean up their carbon footprint. So they buy RECs as well. And now we have market demand. And with market demand comes market prices. So now the renewable generator sells that electricity into the grid, the wind farm sells that power into the grid, and that megawatt fetches into the grid whatever a megawatt of electrons fetches at that day that it goes into the grid. But they also have this other thing that they can sell called a renewable energy certificate. And that renewable energy certificate must be purchased and must be retired in connection with any customer's claimed usage of green power. So now we have two different products. Now you probably don't think of it this way, but we've been selling RECs for 5 years. Whenever one of your customers got a green product here in Texas, every time that they used a megawatt of the same power that comes out of everybody's sockets, because it's just electrons, every time you bought you used a megawatt of power, we went out and bought a REC for you. That's what green power is, guys. Now you may say, well, that's really not green power, but it has the same economic and functional effect. Someone produces a megawatt of renewably generated power and produces as a byproduct the REC, which attests to it. And then at the consumer's end, the end customer's end, you use that megawatt of power and the REC gets consumed and retired. So there is a chain. That's how the market works. Make sense?
Yeah, nice response. But real quick, a couple of things, because just to help break it down to layman's terms, I always tell people he's one of the smartest guys I've ever been around, and his vocabulary is so extensive, half the time I don't know what words he's using. And he actually used the word fetches. I like that.
Fetches?
Yeah. Huh. It fetches a megawatt.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
That was very good.
Yeah.
So now we know what you're talking about. And for those of you who don't know what a megawatt is, the terminology most of us as Ignite associates are familiar with are in kilowatts. So 1,000 kilowatts equals 1 megawatt. So when your customer, or when you purchase a REC, a renewable energy certificate, you're basically purchasing 1,000 kilowatts of renewable energy. The certificate you receive authenticates that.
That's correct.
One of the questions that...
That's why they call a certificate. A certificate is something that certifies. Duh.
Well, and no, I think we have to break... No, we have to break it down like that, because those are the questions we're getting. Well, then I'm going to have to just lean... I had all these other questions already going. No, this is good. Because now it leans into this one.
Your wife is fetching. You just fetch.
I told you, a great vocabulary.
He's got a cute wife.
Oh, yes, I married way over my head. Yes, thank you. My nephew says it's true. The question, even though you explained to somebody what a REC is, the next question is, well, when somebody pays $19.95, where does the money go?
Good question. I've had a lot of that recently. I've had it in a variety of different forms. People say, okay, well, what's the money flow there? You know, what percentage of the $19.95 goes to the renewable generator? And if I explain it in a different industry and we do a little bit of identity substitution, you guys are going to understand it completely, okay?
The aha moment.
Aha moment, yeah. We tried this on Saturday, and I could literally, and I wasn't sure that it was going to work, but I could see people's lights going over people's heads. Who shops at Albertsons? I'm the only one who shops at Albertsons.
Pick a grocery store.
Kroger's. All right. Okay. Kroger seems to be a good place for y'all to prospect. How about Walmart? All right. Okay. Walmart. You go to your Walmart supercenter, right? And you buy a 4-pack of corn, and you buy it for $3. How much of that $3 goes immediately from Walmart to the farmer? 0. Why? Because the farmer already got paid. Now let's look at the food chain there, all right? Excuse the pun. You buy the corn from Walmart because a couple of days earlier, Walmart probably bought the corn from a wholesaler, right? And that wholesaler, a day or two before, probably bought it from a rural co-op that is near the farmer in question who grew the corn, and a day earlier that co-op probably bought the corn from the farmer who produced and harvested the corn when the farmer brought it to the co-op, right? Farmer got paid a week ago. So when Walmart sells you that corn, they're keeping the $3. Why? Because they had to buy the corn from the wholesaler who bought it from the rural co-op who bought it from the farmer. And they've got overhead costs and they've got marketing costs. They don't pay MEI, which makes them a less than cool company. Right? But Walmart keeps all of that $3. Substitute some identities here. You, the rec buying Clean Nation customer, are the corn buying customer. Stream Energy is Walmart. And the corn growing farmer is the wind farm. The wind farm has two products. This particular product, the rec, will often be sold separately from the electricity. The government allows them to do that to give them maximum flexibility. They'll often sell it to a major energy firm or a wholesaling firm, or sometimes directly to a retailer like Stream. They could sell it to a trading entity, which is in the business of trading RECs. All that ultimately is important is that at the time you, the REC or corn-eating customer, consumes that REC or the corn, is that the REC has been purchased by Stream and is retired at the time that you use it. And there's a whole industry here of auditors that certify that the firms that are claiming that they do that are doing it. And it's a federal offense. It's a federal offense to be claiming that you're doing this and not doing it because it's a federal product.
Maybe just very quickly touch on that certification that you mentioned. Green E Energy is the auditing third-party independent company. And I know it's not exact, but kind of correlate that to be a licensed retail energy provider, you have to certainly be licensed by the Public Utilities Commission or Public Service Commission. Right. And to legitimately sell those RECs, you have to be audited by someone who can certify that. Yeah,
if you go to the EPA website, they have a pretty good discourse on that. In fact, if any of you want me to send you to some of these websites, email me after this meeting. It's rob@streamenergy.net. I will send you a couple of the websites where you can actually see some extended discussions as to how the auditing process works. But there are regional entities set up here in the United States that are responsible for auditing the purchase and consumption and retirement of renewable energy certificates. There's one here specific to ERCOT, and they often farm out some of the tracking duties to not-for-profit institutions such as this Green E auditing firm. Green E is probably the brand name within the sector, and what their job is to do is to provide assurance to the consuming public that retailers that say that they're buying RECs to meet their green customers' needs are actually doing so. Well, believe it or not, these things are actually individually numbered. Just, like you look at a dollar bill, there's a serial number on it. Same thing with a REC.
And I'm going to touch on that too for you. Well, let me just throw that out there because that's a question that comes in. People are asking, well, when I pay my $19.95 every month, will I get a new certificate every month? And the answer is yes and no, right? No, you won't receive a physical certificate because obviously we're a clean nation. We don't want to use up a bunch of paper. So electronically, you'll receive your first certificate, and then going forward in the back office power center that we as Ignite Associates have, or somebody who's a renewable energy partner has, the actual serial number will be there, and they can look through it each month and see that. So there'll be the physical evidence, I guess you could say, but it's not going to be a certificate in the mail. Obviously, that wouldn't be a real clean nation.
Sure, but if you wanted, you can download the certificate to your printer and print it out.
Exactly.
All right. If you want to put it on your wall, I guess you can.
Put a frame around it. That's good. The newness of this is what everybody's like, "Rrr." So let's make sure they understand this is not new. You alluded to it, that Stream Energy has been purchasing certificates in representation of the green and clean plan we had for our electricity customers. But corporations have been buying these for almost 2 decades.
Really not 2 decades. Really the first use of RECs. RECs were actually invented as an instrument of trade in 2000. And it was actually a not-for-profit institution actually formed the first trade. Actually, it was with the EPA. And it was done for the purpose of proving up green energy sourcing. So they've really only been around about 12, 13 years now. But every time you see somebody selling a green product, you hear about a firm reducing their carbon footprint. You know, I saw something about the Phillies the other day. They said that they've reduced the carbon footprint of their baseball stadium by virtue of greening up their electricity usage. That's all they're doing, gang. It's purchasing RECs.
You mentioned the finite amount of RECs and certificates kind of hand in hand. One of the things you talked about before that now I'm going to lean towards the crusade, if you will, that sometimes people think, well, Clean Nation and the patriotic look to this. Is it really marketing shtick, or can we really make a difference? And I think those of us who really have looked into this think, wow, we can make a difference for our children and grandchildren. But talk about how, while it may be finite because the industry has maybe slowed down because of the costs, that we can impact future, not only generation of the renewable energy, but reducing that carbon footprint or pollution.
Sure. I think one thing that's important to be thinking about here is that what the government has done is it's come up with what it wants to have a market-based approach to encouraging renewable energy. What that means is that the market price for RECs on the wholesale market, you know, if you go out on the web, you've been able to buy RECs online. If you just want to buy a single REC, you can buy it, and the pricing out there is, you know, you can probably find it for about as wind RECs for as low as for about $15 in some places, and some places you'll find them for $25, $30. But there is a market wholesale price for RECs that moves up and down with demand. Interestingly enough, the time when it really gets expensive, when you don't want to be caught short, is in December, because a lot of these firms have a requirement that at the end of the year that they've bought all the RECs that they need in order to satisfy what their consumption's been during the year. And I think some of these guys must fall asleep and aren't purchasing them consistently during the year, and they wake up on, you know, December 15th and they go, holy hell, we don't have enough RECs. So the price usually skyrockets. But by having this market-based approach, and here understanding that the only way that you increase the number of RECs available is by increasing deliverable renewable generation. If you want to increase the pool of RECs, the only way to do it is to put more generation online. All right? So how does this market force thing happen? Okay? Let's say that Stream Energy and Ignite and Clean Nation bolster consumer demand for RECs here in the United States. And if we do a good job of this, there's a reason that they're called copycat firms, guys. All right? Every firm that had copycatted the Stream Energy model will copycat this. And all of a sudden, maybe we have significantly increased consumer demand here in the United States. And guess what? If the regulated guys see the deregulated guys doing this, the regulated firms will say, hey, that's a good idea. We ought to do that as well. And now we've created a situation where we have significantly enhanced demand for RECs here in the United States. Well, What's that going to do to the wholesale price of RECs? It's going to drive it up. But that means that wholesale generating firms are making more money from the sale of their RECs into the market, right? Increased demand, increased limited finite supply, increased cost. But that increased cost will cause firms that are considering investment in renewable generation facilities, they'll go, hey, we can make more money now than we would have made a year ago. The project is maybe more viable now. And you'll have more renewable energy projects green-lighted, which will increase the pool of RECs, which will bring down the wholesale cost of RECs for a while, which makes them more affordable, which maybe makes people more inclined to buy them, which increases demand. And you have a cycle here where you could create sufficient consumer demand that we significantly increase the supply and the amount of renewable generation that's produced in this country. And as more renewable generation comes online, the more there is of something, the cost comes down. And frankly, I think the only reason that any of us have historically not liked renewable generation is because it was more expensive. If we can create short to intermediate term consumer demand which brings significant renewable generation assets online, gang, we can take the current premium between renewable generation today and conventional generation, we can narrow it. And if rather than a 30% differential, 40% differential today, if we brought it down in 5, 7, 10 years, if we brought it down to maybe 10%, 5%, why wouldn't we like renewable generation? It makes a lot of sense.
Can I ask a question? Does the $19.95 that the customer paying, will it float to the market or is it fixed?
It'll be fixed, but I guarantee you if market prices for RECs significantly increases, that price will go up over time.
That kind of goes into my next question is if there's a fluctuation in our business presentation that's being developed by the marketing department, there's little wind turbine, windmill, whatever you want to call it. Is it specifically wind when we talk about a REC?
Yeah, today for the most part you're talking about wind RECs, and the reason is because there's, other than hydroelectric up in the north, up in the far northeast, and in the northwest, in Oregon, in Washington, in Maine. Ontario has so much hydroelectric you wouldn't believe it. But other than large hydroelectric projects, you don't have a lot of commercial scale solar projects in the United States. Most of your solar facilities are really for self-consumption. You've only in the last 3 to 4 years started to develop large scale solar projects. So most of the commercially deliverable levels of megawatts are wind generated. So when we're talking about RECs today, we're really for the most part talking about wind generation. But could this encourage solar generation plants? Yes. Would this, well, we're not going to have, look, it's Texas. We're not going to have hydroelectric generation, right?
Lake Levon.
But also geothermal. Geothermal is a very promising technology. It's very expensive today, but it need not always be.
Okay, let's dive into the business side of things. And I mentioned, waving the flag and the patriotic side of this, of our crusade. Mm-hmm. For the last several years, those of us who've been close to you, you've really kind of been the grim reaper as far as what is happening with our economy and have kept us abreast of that. How do you see this? We know it can affect a lot of lives in a positive way who are Ignite associates or choose to be renewable energy partners, but overall, can this create a lot of jobs in America?
Yeah. Well, define a lot. You know, is it going to replace?
industry.
Is it going to replace the losses in the, for example, the car industry? Probably not. But will this create American jobs? Yes. Will this hypothetically begin to accelerate our lessened dependence on foreign energy? Yes. Is it something good for future generations simply by a matter of, you know, I don't know whether global warming as a result of man-made emissions is accurate or not. I think scientists are agreed today that the world, for whatever reason, is warming. It could be completely natural. But at the same time, if we have a form of generation that is non-polluting in any sense of the word, and a form of generation that is polluting, why in the hell wouldn't we choose the non-polluting type? The reason is cost. The reason is cost. And if we can bring down that cost, we're doing a lot of good things. We're creating jobs here in the United States. We're lessening our dependence on some very, you know, fragile parts of the world, some of which don't like us very much as Americans. And then finally, we're doing something that's probably pretty good for the environment.
You mentioned global warming, and for some reason, when the Clean Nation product was announced at Power Surge, there was a lot of people with maybe their own political views that said, well, what is Stream Energy doing? Is there some political agenda behind Clean Nation? And so I'll let you touch that.
Yeah, I got an email the day after Power Surge with a guy really came after me pretty hard, and I didn't know exactly how to respond to it. So I opened up with, Mr. So-and-so, I'm sorry you feel that way, but let's get something straight. I'm not Al Gore, all right? I think one of the things that you will find about our leadership at Stream, and we're all over the map politically, but this is not red state, blue state. This is not, you know, this is not left or right. This is not arguing about Obamacare. I mean, at Stream, I mean, about the only common political denominator we have across the hall right there is I've got a management team who, for the most part, it's a bunch of guys and gals who don't like being told what the hell to do, all right? And I find that we find that a lot in Ignite as well. I mean, let's face it, you know, Ignite is not a business for people who like being told what to do, right? We're somewhat individualists. And so there's no political overtones here. We're not endorsing any political agenda. What we're saying is, look, this is all about choice. If you want to buy Stream Energy's conventionally generated electricity products, we'll offer it to you. If you want to buy our monthly product, I'll try and talk you out of it, but if that's the product that you want to buy, we'll sell it to you. And if you think it's a good investment in your future, and our future, and this nation's future, to buy our renewable Clean Nation product, that's your choice. The product isn't going to be for everybody. There are some people who aren't going to buy it on the ground that they, for whatever reason, and like a lot of people who aren't buying green electricity products today, they just say, you know what, I've thought about it. It doesn't matter, the cause doesn't matter that much to me, that I'm willing to pay the premium. Interestingly enough, for those of you guys who have done the math, $20 per 1,000 kilowatts of green power, you've just now kind of figured out why everybody's green product is about 2 cents more expensive per 1,000 kilowatts than their conventionally generated product. That's all it is. The product's not going to be for everybody. Some people, I don't know, some people are, you know, look, the Grinch is going to say, I'm not going to buy a green product, and I can understand that. I can understand
I think I know
that.
him.
Yeah, but I think that some people will, and I think when people increasingly understand how this works and what the long-term goal is and what the long-term benefits can be, I think we'll open some minds. And maybe people will say, okay, well, maybe I can't do one a month. Maybe I can do one a quarter. Or maybe I can do one every other month. Maybe I can green up half my electricity usage. You know, there's going to be some eager beavers there that are going to say, hey, I'm going to not only green up my electricity usage, but I'm going to green up my next door neighbors, and I'm not even going to tell them about it. And they're going to buy 2 a month. All right? People will have different motivations here. But it's about choice. And we want to be in the business. Ultimately, at Stream, we want to offer our customers savings, but ultimately, whether it's the Ignite associate, whether it's the Ignite customer, whether it's me as chairman of Stream, this is about choice.
The people in the room and the people watching, obviously, this video are Ignite associates because, obviously, we haven't launched the company to where somebody could just be a partner so far. And everybody is here because someone told them about a business opportunity. And what you just said about the choice, there's really going to be 2 kinds of people. Those who want to make a huge impact on the environment that would like to make a little money along the way, and those who want to make a lot of money and love the fact that they can help the environment along the way, right?
Or to paraphrase, there are 2, I firmly believe there's going to be
That's
2
Presley.
groups of people in this
kinds
room.
of people, huh?
Those who chose to change their lives and those who wish they did.
There you go. Wow, that was pretty good. And I thought I had a good Presley. That was great. When you look at the...
You know, I was working today. I was working on the policies and procedures for a Clean Nation today with Vanessa Rush, and I read that thing 5 different times. I did my word search. I didn't find one single reference in there to chickens and eggs. And
well, these are really just roosters because the business, the video we have to share the business, a business presentation, when somebody looks at the REI, much like our MEI, when they look at the REI and they see that by finding 5 reps who duplicate 5 levels, it can be $34,000. That is a lot of money. They're going to be the people who think, can that really happen for me? And I think that it's going to intrigue a lot of people, excite a lot of people, but I know you, in just talking to you, have kind of that word of caution that, hey, this isn't winning the lottery, no different than building our Ignite business before these came along. It's about helping people and continuing the progress of that, of team building.
yeah. I see the presentation and I understand the logic of having the 5 levels deep and presenting what the perfect build out is. There isn't a single Ignite associate in this room that has a perfect 3 in 10 organization. So you guys know the realities of what Logan was talking about in terms of lazy people and eggs that are sterile and all that, all right? I think the important thing to note, though, is that there is residual income to be made here. But I very much view Clean Nation really not as a standalone business, guys. For Stream, the way that we are approaching this is a complement to our main game. We are an energy company. We make our money primarily by selling electricity and natural gas to consumers, and hopefully at better prices than they can buy it from the incumbents where they live. This is another product. We think it's nicely complementary. We think there's some interesting things about this as well. Think of it this way. You sell a REC to an Ambit customer, you've just greened up Ambit's service, right? Some of y'all know people in Los Angeles. You can sell a REC to a customer of regulated Southern California Edison where they have never had choice before, and that customer can choose their own green product. Kind of interesting, huh? Lower Colorado River Authority. I mean, if you can't find tree huggers in Austin, you can't find them anywhere, right? Those people haven't had any choice in what they buy. We just gave them choice. We just gave people choice in all 50 states, regulated or deregulated. If they use energy in the United States, they now have choice. Kind of cool.
That's huge. It's going to grow fast. People are calling their friends all over the country. You know, it's funny, I don't even know why I'm sitting here, because every time you answer one question, you just lay the other one out on a silver platter. So you don't need me. But here's the question, because of what you just touched on, and our core business is and will be electricity and natural gas, and kind of lost in the announcement of Clean Nation at Power Surge in Atlantic City is that you and Bouncer Shiro, the president, announced we're going to now start offering natural gas in the PSE&G service area in New Jersey sometime late September, early October, 1.6 million meters, and a whole lot more to come.
Yep.
And you've mentioned that you have another few tricks up your sleeve for us, that you're throttled down fast forward on our deregulated states where you're going to bring stream energy.
Yeah, we will announce 1, if not 2, new states before the end of this year. And one of those states will be a dual commodity state. More than that, what you will be seeing here over the course of the year, and kind of some intermittent announcements from the Ignite corporate team, you will be seeing us announce our launch into new gas service territories in the existing jurisdictions in the Northeast where we already provide electricity service. So my guess is that by the end of this year, we'll probably have given you another 5 million meters just in our existing jurisdictions, and then there'll be a whole lot more meters to come when we announce the jurisdictions that we're opening. It's got to be Lida Figueroa.
Just threw it out there, didn't she? All right, let's get into a couple of the specifics. We had a lot of questions come in through the Currents email that was sent out. Somebody asked if it'll be possible to do a fundraiser program in conjunction with Clean Nation.
Yes, but not yet. We put this together kind of at a breakneck pace over the last 45 days. Doug and Daryl and Matt McGoy have just been killing themselves to get this out so that you guys can have it in the next 7 to 10 days. And the fundraiser is just another layer of complexity. That'll be a follow-on thing.
One of the questions, and I'm going to jump on this one for you real quick, is someone said, how do we get started day one? When, obviously, the Stream Energy corporate office tells us go, whatever day that'll be in the near future. The role we'll play immediately is we'll go into our back office power center and literally just follow the prompts. So you'll go to your power center, follow the prompts. Now that's both for an active or inactive associate. And you know, you've always heard that adage in network marketing, you can't throw an alarm clock in the graveyard and wake the dead. I think you want to be calling all those people, right? If somebody has had life get in the way and they've set their business aside for a little while, call those people. They can get started. This will jumpstart them, and all they have to do is the same as the rest of us. Go to your power center, follow the prompts. It's going to be literally step, step, step. It'll be the very simple thing for them. Then once you follow the prompts, you're going to get a third website. We all have our igniting.biz site. We have our mystreamenergy.biz site, and everyone will get a cleannation.biz site. Obviously, your web alias goes before that. Mine's B. Lucia, so it's blucia.igniting.biz, so on and so forth, and then it'll be cleannation.biz. That's for current or inactive associates who are IAs. If day one you have that person in Los Angeles, you go in, follow the policies, or read the policy and procedures as a Clean Nation partner. Click, 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 go through a little training, click, yes. You purchase your rec, you're up and running with your cleannation.biz site. That friend of yours in Los Angeles, you can call on the phone and say, here's my web address, go. And they're just going to follow the same thing by clicking on the website.
You know, one thing that has been asked of me as well, people have asked, well, why can't we do this and not have to buy a rec? Well, how convincing of you are you as either an advocate or a salesperson if you're unwilling to buy the product that you're asking others to buy? That's why I think it was, I really didn't think it was ever going to be a question, but it's pretty essential, guys. I mean, either, if you're going to, and I think if you're going to be successful at this, you have to believe in the product. You have to believe in the benefit that this product produces, not only for society, but for our environment.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I appreciate that.
That's my job.
Your wisdom's greatness. For those of you watching the video, associate support is by the phones waiting to help you. Your upline's waiting to help you, but a little word of advice. Go to the Currents, the newsletter that comes out on Tuesdays and Fridays and is also in your back office. Read the frequently asked questions before you make that first phone call. Get yourself up to speed on that. There's also, in the Currents, you'll see that the EPA article or I guess PDF that Rob referenced is there as well. Go through Currents, see that information before you make those phone calls and tie up the lines. And then, of course, if you have a question that's not answered, call your upline, call associate support. Thanks again, Rob.
Welcome, man.
All right.
Thank you, guys.